Hey everybody, welcome back. Another little edition of the Talking Tech going on here today. Primarily MMO news today with Blizzard's newest quarterly update being released, showing that they are down 600,000 subs in their World of Warcraft, bringing them down to only 7.7 million players worldwide still. They are no longer the number one game in China, but it seems the entire Chinese market has shifted off of MMORPGs and onto games more like League of Legends that don't necessarily require as great a time commitment in chunks to play to get things done, i.e. hardcore raiding, or even honestly casual raiding. There's a lot of time that still goes into that stuff. Other Blizzard Activision news is that they are splitting off from their current parent company, Vivendi, who was using them or going to use them just a little bit earlier last month, and towards the end of June, I believe, they were going to use Activision Blizzard basically like an ATM. They were going to pull a bunch of cash out of that company to cover debts of the parent company. And being that Blizzard holds a good chunk of their money in offshore, reconverting that money, sending it over to Vivendi after taxes would have put AB, Activision Blizzard, into some pretty hefty debt of its own. That's not necessarily a great situation or a smart move for a parent company to be doing, but because of that, I'm sure amongst many other reasons, Blizzard is actually, from both Blizzard themselves and through some different investment groups, are going ahead and pulling back all of their shares from Vivendi, essentially repurchasing the company on their own, except for 12% of the shares, which keeps Vivendi financing the company, but as a very, very minority shareholder. Vivendi has been trying to offload its Blizzard stock for probably a year and a half, but hasn't found anybody that was willing to make the full jump into purchasing a game development company. This is considered widely to be a very good move on Activision Blizzard's parts, and I'm very happy for one to see that that's being done. There's a lot of speculation with the sub drop and stuff right now too, whether or not now is the best time for them to launch into a free-to-play model, something that a lot of people have really been calling for lately. I think that it would potentially be good, but there really isn't that need for them to do that yet. It seems like they are shifting that way a little bit, being that they've been bulking up cash shop items and things like that lately. So there definitely is groundwork in place for that. But they're also at the lull point in their expansion, where the expansion's been out for a year now. They have maybe 2 solid patches that they're going to release in this expansion still to add a little bit of endgame content. Whether or not that's actually going to be enough before a new expansion rolls around, which we'll probably get a taste of at the next up-and-coming BlizzCon here anyway. We'll probably see those 600,000 easily come back, as they always do for a new expansion, but right now they're back down towards Burning Crusade numbers, which again really isn't that bad. They're still the largest stake in MMORPG out there, even with all the free-to-play models that exist currently. Speaking of free-to-play, Rift on June 12th, as pretty much everybody knows, went free-to-play themselves and has done very, very well on their player base with that massive expansion, in fact. And one of the interesting things is when they were going towards considering the free-to-play model, that is a giant hand there, when they were going towards considering that free-to-play model, they were looking at keeping a lot of content locked behind a subscription. SWTOR, Sprint, Bosses, Sub Only. Anyway, they decided not to do that and instead try and learn from the mistakes that a lot of companies that were converting from subs to free to play try to learn from some of the mistakes and some of the pitfalls they had and quickly adapt to them and try and do not that thing and see how it worked for them. Obviously, it's never going to be perfect, but it can be more perfecter than others. So they decided instead to go the route of making the game such a great player experience that people would want to pour their time into it, and with their time, their money into the cash shop, getting those cosmetic items that dress their world up a little better, give them a more personalized experience, versus making players feel that they needed to spend the money in order to actually play the game, even though the game was billed as free to play. SWTOR, EA bag of dicks. You know. At any rate, I can't really knock any of them. I don't currently own, run, or operate any MMO online games, and I can't really say how I would switch a free to play model around after having run a sub system for so long, or what features, without looking at a lot of different marketing demographics, I would feel okay sacrificing. At the end of the day, they are all still businesses and they all have to make money. So anytime you go from a set amount in your bank to hopefully increasing it by moving it into a different structure, you take a lot of risks. And so I respect that there's a lot of companies that take their time in those moves, and hopefully they put a lot of good thought into them. But at the end of the day, you've got to remember you're selling a game. It's not a necessity in this world, it's a commodity. If you're a gamer nerd like I am, then it's a necessity, but if your game doesn't work, I will find a game that does. There isn't a monopoly on video games out there. So you can't make a crappy game, charge me inordinate amounts of money, and just accept the fact that I have no choice but to spend it with you, since I can't spend it anywhere else. No, you've got a business to run, so you have to make the right decisions for your customers and for yourselves, and it gets dicey when you do that. So props to the companies that are getting it figured out. Rift isn't hurting for money right now, so it seems like they've made the right move, but it is only a month into their structure, a month and a half into this new structure. We'll see where things go. With SWTOR, they took a little more I don't know how to say it without saying it wrongly. I want to say that they took a more aggressive approach to not making a free-to-play design free-to-play, in as much as they still charge you for 90% of the things you do, and if you want to play free-to-play, then it's basically like downloading a demo back in 1995 when we all downloaded 3-level games from major companies to see if we wanted to try out their new titles and their new technologies. And it's created a very bad experience for them. They've actually continued to decline in numbers. There aren't that many people paying to be in their game anymore. There's still a lot more than some other games out there, but a lot of those other games are more deserving of the time and attention than SWTOR is, but it's got the Star Wars name slapped on it. That always makes a difference, obviously. So, it's about all I got for tonight. Thanks for watching. Why don't you guys let me know, because I can't wrap my head around some of these things. What is it you would look for in a free-to-play game if that free-to-play game had previously been charging you $15 a month? Being that it is a business, keep that in mind, being that it's a business, what concessions for money would you expect them to make? Would you expect there to be, let's say, a really high-end, high-dollar cash shop to help them keep some of the cash coming in? hoping that you had a good enough experience where you wanted to spend it in the cash shop? Would you appreciate a move like they did with SWTOR, where they had multi-level subscription fees, where the full subscription, everything's unlocked, or you got the casual subscription where you can run 9 dungeons a week instead of 2 or 1, something like that. What is it you would like to see, or if you in your own mind had a game that were subbed already, what would you do to try and protect your financial investment? Let me know what you think. Hit a like button or a subscribe button, comment on some things. There should be a link like up in probably up in that corner. Actually, I kind of like, or just like right here, for the new blogcast site that I'm setting up, that's going to have links off to pretty much everything that we do here, in addition to the feed for the up and coming fully to launch podcast that is coming your way very, very, I promise you, very soon. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. Adios.